lights on this 280 SL. To take the rear lights out, first thing you have to do is screw this panel off, which is held on by two of these plastic fittings. Once you've screwed the light off, you've got to start taking these nuts here out. Where are we? Just there. And I can already see that on this car here has not got the right fittings on it. A very common source of leaks in these SLs is through the back lights. And most of the SLs that have been sitting out for any period of time leak through these rear seals here into the boot, and you end up getting a wet boot. So we're going to take the lights out and have a look at them. Common problem with the SLs, R107 SLs, is that they leak through the boot, and one of the ways they leak is through these rear lights. And it's easy to see why when you look at this seal here. This seal is rock hard. It's not really doing anything at all. And in addition to that, over the years people put on non-standard parts, like there shouldn't be any washers on here like this. There should just be, this should sit on the car, and then this should clamp to the car, and by using these big washers it creates a much better seal. But what you'll find on a lot of cars is that those are missing and they've just got nuts with washers on, which is the wrong way to do it. Very rarely you'll take one of these off and be able to reuse the seal. It's definitely not reusable in this case, so we're going to put on another seal. This is one I happened to buy years ago on eBay when it came up for sale. It was about £20. The cheapest place to get these is in America. Actually, they cost about $30 from a company called URO. They make lots of different seals, and to get someone to bring it back, because if you buy it from Euro and ship it over here, you'll pay customs duty. You can also buy these seals from the SL shop. They're about £77 each, but there's no point in putting this light back on with this seal. It'll just leak. So the first thing we're going to do is take this light to pieces, clean all the aluminium up and put a new seal on it, and get ourselves some new washers. Once again, some new nuts. Once again, there's no point in putting on these rusty nuts. Take the seal off, you've got to have a go at taking off the lens from the casing, and to do that it's just these nuts here that you've got to undo. These two nuts should have washers here and here, which you'll find are missing on lots of cars. Nuts undone, this should just kind of pull upwards. Difficult to do it with one hand, so we'll do that off camera. Seal, and depending on how long it's been on the car, it will depend on the state of what you find underneath. But you can see that this is not sealing at all anymore. We've got to clean this whole surface up and try and make it smooth and flat again. This seal is probably okay. We've got a small problem here, that this fitting is rested on solid. We're going to have to try and cut that nut off and get that little washer. And we're going to take these out to refurbish them, probably respray the inside of these. They normally get pretty worn out, and clean this lens up. These lens bowls are held on by what looks to be a sort of custom type of washer, countersunk washer, and inside that washer is looks like a cardboard gasket or some kind of felt ring. I'm not sure you can actually get those, but these washers, they do sort of lift off, but you might have to screw it off. They might be rusted on solid. They're on pretty tight. Don't force them, because these fittings are quite fragile. Rusted solid, we have to pick out the gasket with a little watchmaker's screwdriver, but we got them off eventually. They're going to go into a bath of evaporust, because I haven't seen washers like that before. I don't think we'll be able to replace them. And once you've got that off, you can get this part of the lens off. This one's definitely going to need touching up with some paint. And then we're just going to clean up these threads here. I don't know if we're going to have to recut them, but we're definitely going to maybe put maybe a wire brush will get rid of that. And as that comes off as well, we'll just clean that up. And then we'll then wash the lens with warm soapy water, clean it up, and then we'll start putting the new seal on. Before putting this back together and putting the seal on, we're going to thoroughly clean it, but it is incredibly difficult to get right into the corners of these lights, and one way to do it is just to get yourself a cotton wool bud, cut it in half, and put it in a drill and just use either warm soapy water just to get right in the corners here just before you put the thing back together. I've cleaned the rear indicator lens to the best of your ability using either a pressure washer or a toothbrush, warm soapy water. The first thing to do is put these little pieces on here. Now they'll often be rusted, so just get a wire brush to any rust or put it in some evapor rust to get rid of the rust. And if you need to coat those with something, you can use something like MRO Chrome Galvanized Coating. It's about £17 a tin. And what that will do is there's like a self-etching primer and rust protector in silver. So that bit goes on first. Put this piece on next. If you need to spray up the interior, use something like Bosnia chrome paint. Those were absolutely fine, didn't need it. But occasionally you'll come across this kind of stuff here where the paint's worn off. You can just give that a quick spray over with some chrome paint and that will come up like new. If you need to touch up these pieces, just do a little bit of light coat of this Bosnia chrome paint, comes up really nice. Don't need much of the stuff. Once you've ground off as much of the aluminium oxide as you can using a wire wheel and a wire brush, you'll find that there's still some bits left on in these difficult to get to parts. And the way I remove that is just using a solution of lemon juice and water. This is a 60 centimetre long fish kettle which cost about £20 second hand off eBay, and it's incredibly useful for de-rusting parts using evapor rust in there or lemon juice solution, because all the number plates, rubber bumpers, back headlights, etc. fit inside there. So inside there is just 2 bottles of Jif lemon juice. They cost about £1 each. We're going to leave that overnight and that will take off the remaining aluminium oxide that we can't get, and then we'll just get rid of the last of this corrosion from the aluminium and put the whole thing back together. This has been sitting in a solution of concentrated lemon juice and water for the last couple of days, and most of the aluminium oxide has gone. What I'm going to try doing is actually spraying it with some MRO Chrome Galvanized Coating. I've never used this before on this piece, but the this has been sprayed with that and it's actually come up quite well. And the point of doing is it'll just, apart from looking nice, not that you'll ever really see this piece, it'll actually stop this corrosion coming back. This is a self-etching primer and also a coating, so I'm hoping that it'll not only look good but stop any corrosion coming back. Good enough condition, you can prolong the life of the seal just by rubbing in some of this turtle wax. I use the black in the flash stuff because you can use it on bumpers as well. It will just bring your rubber back to life. The seal back on, it goes over the aluminium frame first. Make sure you've got it on properly, not like that, before you put the lens on, and don't be tempted to put any glue on like somebody has done with this light. It just makes it very difficult to clean the surface in future. Just putting the top bit of the seal on is quite tricky. Just make sure that the seal tucks under the reflector lens and then check it all the way around to make sure it's on properly. Here are knackered, quite rusty, too rusty to get a nut down, so we're gonna just recut them using an M6 1.0 thread cutter just to tidy up the threads, and then we're going to put new nuts. To recut the threads, remember they don't need to be cut all the way down, because by the time you've got this bit on, these bits are actually several mil thick, so the threads only need to be cut down to about 2.5 centimeters. When it comes to putting this back together, you won't have the little cardboard gaskets that go between these washers. So what I use is these little rubber O-rings here, and if you get along to Toolstation and buy a kit of O-rings for a couple of pounds, that's the smallest O-ring that comes in the kit, and it will just fit over there and roll all the way down, and that's basically it. Last but not least, some M6 washers and M6 nuts. If the nuts you've taken off are corroded in any way, just get some new ones from Toolstation. Only about £1 for a bag of 100. You want to make sure you've got washers on. Often you take these off and they don't have the washers on, but you need washers. Whatever you do, when you tighten them down, do it by hand and don't over tighten them. You don't want to crack the plastic fittings. Put the seal on, check it carefully that it's on properly. Make sure you don't do something like this and leave a corner out. It's very common when people put these seals on and then you get a leak through there and everything starts corroding. So just tuck that in underneath. To put this back on the car, you'll need 5 of these special washers. You'll also need some M4 nuts and some M4 washers. So the seal will go against the paintwork of the car, and these 3 pieces here will go inside the boot of the car to clamp the light against the paint. You can actually make a light just using a piece of plate metal like that, and I have to look very closely to know that that's not an original, and you've saved yourself a few quid. These are now ready to go back on the car. We've resprayed up the balls with chrome paint. On this particular one, we've resprayed the metal casing with galvanizing paint. We've replaced all the washers. We've made up one of these special washers here. We've thoroughly cleaned them. The seal has been replaced on here, and all the metalwork has been cleaned up. This one here hasn't been sprayed up, and this one has. Not sure which finish I prefer, but that spray there will protect it and stop any corrosion coming back in the future. These are now ready to go back on the car. Will make a big difference.